uncovered wonders undreamt by our ancestors who first speculated. We have uncovered wonders undreamt by our ancestors who first speculated on the nature of those wandering lights in the night sky. We've crossed the solar system and sent ships to the stars. But we continue to search. We can't help it. A central element of the human future lies far beyond the Earth. If we crave some cosmic purpose, then let us find ourselves a worthy goal.
You're looking at
We have uncovered wonders undreamt by our ancestors who first speculated on the nature of those wandering lights in the night sky. We've crossed the solar system and sent ships to the stars. But we continue to search. We can't help it. A central element of the human future lies far beyond the Earth. If we crave some cosmic purpose, then let us find ourselves a worthy goal.
You're looking at live
That is exactly what we're doing, Erie.
footage of an area.
Okay, no, I want to go live.
Scientific and technological marvel.
We are. We're doing watch party of the launch. Yee! Freaking yeah! It is very, very early. I am very tired. But yeah, James Webb, fucking 25 years in the making.
Webb is zo groot dat deze in origami-stijl moet worden opgevouwen om in de raket te passen. Om vervolgens in de ruimte...
Imagine this happens every time you eat some random shit in this space in KSP. Oh my god, like... Just to watch it, like, blow up spectacularly. This is fucking poggers. Also, just don't mind me, I'm just gonna be, like, occasionally lying down to sleep. Hi, Star Extinction! Merry Xmas, Merry Xmas to you, Extinction, Happy Holidays. I'm like waving as if you can hear me or see me. I'm very tired. Let's see, I also got...
Thousands of people all over the world.
Let me see here.
Years to get us to today's launch. The core partners.
I miss you. I miss you too. I'm gonna like... I can't wait for us to play together again. Where did I stick it? There was some like...
one-of-a-kind scientific platform. Without a doubt, this is the most complex.
I'm having fun vacation. Nice, nice, nice.
Daring mission goals, and
Merry Christmas, everybody.
We'll hear from our
And happy holidays to those who don't celebrate it.
Someone representing the science community with a rare perspective.
Where did I stick it here?
Hello, I'm ESA astronaut Matthias Maurer, currently living and working on the International Space Station ISS. I'm very excited
downloaded some, like...
Space Telescope's launch with you all from space. Even with the naked eye, we astronauts see that the stars are
damn it, I must have, like,
brilliant. Once we are outside
misplaced it somewhere. Give me a quick second here.
Will be the largest and the most powerful telescope in space.
You underestimate yourself. Thank you for the underestimation, Yuri.
Where do we come from? How did galaxies
But I am still very sorry. Nothing's gonna change that.
Planets form, like the sun,
is it?
Might there even be life on other planets? The James Webb Space Telescope is a joint project between NASA, the European, and the Canadian space agencies.
Glad I'm like completely ignoring this. Like,
and it will be used by scientists.
although I didn't say anything, but I almost lost Yodi the first day here. Spent all night searching for her on the first day at 7 a.m. on the pier. Aww. I hope that you found her and everything. Yeah, I can imagine. Like, that's so. Yeah. Well, I hope that you found her everything.
We'll be looking at the mock at key moments throughout the broadcast, and this will become a familiar location for viewers in the weeks ahead.
Wait, that's not the right website. Where's
for work in space? So, as we
a group of dogs protected her? Oh, that's good. Gamer Chads at NASA got that 4-screen setup. Yeah, I'm late.
I'm certain it didn't look like this. Of course, the look of this particular machine is a direct result of the scientific questions
when we found her.
So fortunately, we've got an expert pair of guests with me this morning to help explain those science goals and much more.
Oh yeah, that supposed to be me or something?
By NASA's Deputy Project Scientist for Exoplanet Science, Nicole Colon, and also with Macarena Garcia-Marin, the instrument...
Fuck, it's not me.
...for Webb's mirroring instrument from the European Space Agency. So welcome to you both.
Thank you. Good morning.
So this is our chance to kind
What
of...
do you do during the watch party anyway? Just like...
this is the part that really
talk over them whenever they're not talking.
And I know that there's unusual things about it being an infrared telescope. There are specific science goals, infrared answers. So maybe you can Nicole, with you're an expert on exoplanets.
Oh yeah, here, fact sheet.
Important for your study.
Sure. Well, with exoplanets, we want to study their atmospheres. And as a reminder, exoplanets are planets that orbit distant stars. So we're looking for very small signals when we study their atmospheres. And Webb is this giant telescope that we're able to use to collect these small signals and look for infrared signatures, chemical signatures of water and methane, carbon dioxide, those types of molecules in their atmospheres. And why the infrared? You know, that's really...
So that way I can read off some shit. Well, she reads off some shit.
Know that they exist there, and so that's why we want to use Webb to look there.
It seems an amazing idea. So exoplanets, planets around other
stars,
fuck
off, Adobe.
Away from us, tremendously distant. So how do we know if it's water, methane? I mean, how can we probe an atmosphere so far away?
Well, with Webb, there's a couple different ways, but one
of the
main ways is actually using...
Oh, this is like the teeny tiny little...
This is an indirect method where we actually detect the decrease in starlight that happens...
Yeah, that's spectrometry is what they're talking about.
Imagine the planet has an atmosphere. Well, there's an additional decrease in the starlight because the atmosphere blocks the light from our point of view. And why it blocks the light is because there's usually a molecule or something in there like water and methane, like I mentioned, that is acting...
Yeah, because like light basically goes through a medium, it splits off and gets diffused and whatnot. And analyzing that, you can tell with some certainty what the atmosphere is like. So it'll be good because that way we get to tell apart from like Earth-like planets and Venus planets, which are very, very different when you get up close.
Many millions of years ago, and that light
very similar when you look at them from a distance.
The universe expands. So in that process of travel and expansion, the light shifted from the visible to the infrared, and so we will be able to actually observe those very original primeval galaxies. And not only those, but it will also allow us to observe everything in between so we can understand the evolution of our galaxies from the first ones to the ones we see today.
This is something kind of amazing. So our eyes interpret different energies of light as different colors. Exactly. And infrared light is a color that our eyes are not sensitive to. But like you said, it's actually just the space of the universe stretching out the light and changing it from visible light into infrared.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how are these first galaxies different from galaxies today?
Would actually probably prove like NASA probing hand. Nice. The index of refraction slows down the beam, which changes the wavelength into light, which is how we can find the types of molecules in the outside. Yeah.
So from the
actually, you know what?
To the far,
did it? I want to check. Did it get uploaded?
That's another huge advantage.
Did it get uploaded?
Nicole, could you sort of take us through that story?
Sure. With dust, first there's a lot of dust in the universe, and
why is my
how stars and planets
I uploaded it yesterday. Why is the new star math
clouds of gas and dust
emote not available?
And it's very difficult to see through.
And depending on the text, those in different ones. Yeah.
And so the
Where
is actually able to see through that, almost like
Twitch? What the fuck?
Your bones, sees through our skin.
How long does it take you to fucking
see through
approve and star math? Star math.
Planets that are also very warm.
I made an animated emote 2 days ago.
Of the very first stars, or
yesterday.
Evidence of the first stars
Oh,
that might have existed.
yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah, so the very first stars, they form right around the time of the very first galaxies, even before that. And so we'll be able to measure them, maybe not the
emotes.
but the first population
You
of the stars, which is
2 to 3 days.
They were formed out of a very
Fuck.
pristine material, and then from there they evolved into
re-uploads take less than a day.
Today, things like gold, platinum, carbon, everything were formed out of those.
Oh, well, I can I can show it off here as this one right here.
Wonders in the universe, and one of the things that I would never have believed was
real,
I'd seen it, the data with my own eyes, is the TRAPPIST-1 system, and that this is actually going to be.
I don't know, like how.
Is that right? Tell us a little bit about TRAPPIST.
Sure. TRAPPIST-1 is, like you said, it's going to be a target.
There you can see.
Planets in the system.
I'm thinking so hard here, chat.
It's also very complex. There's a lot of planets, and that Webb's going to observe every single one of them. It's the
all right, so I guess we'll have to wait
fascinating because
a good while before
systems, like all 7 planets
before I get.
Inside
This is a proper KSP emote. This math is related to science.
So imagine 7 planets in there, and there's a lot going on, but it's very exciting because we'll get to learn and do.
Look, it's not size that matters; it's the way you use it.
Do they have the same chemical signatures in their atmosphere? Do they all have same amount of water, carbon dioxide, things like that?
Well, thank you so much. We're going to be back to talk to you more, but thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll be back in some more.
Might as well just go full screen, because why the fuck not?
Taking your questions, so use the hashtag #AskNASA.
Yes, ask NASA.
It's like nothing that's come before because it's pursuing.
Except I don't have Twitter, so fuck it.
It's taken years to prepare it for flight, and as you might imagine, plans of this scope and scale inevitably run into unexpected challenges.
Oh, you wouldn't say.
Encountered things like snowstorms in the east, wildfires in California, hurricanes that deluged Houston, Texas, and of course the global COVID-19 pandemic, which added its own profound challenges to the whole team.
Bro, you've been trying to launch this thing for the past decade. Don't pretend that it's just this year. I'm kind of disappointed it's not Neil deGrasse Tyson presenting. I actually wonder, what is Neil doing?
An outbreak of tornadoes cut electricity to the Marshall Space Flight Center in Alabama for nearly a week, while the team rushed to finish cryogenic testing on the primary mirror segments using power from diesel generators. Engineers had to endure a large snowstorm, known locally as Snowmageddon, while testing the integrated science instrument.
Maybe he's like properly streaming as well.
And of course, everyone has had to contend with the global pandemic. One particularly memorable challenge was working through Hurricane
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
This massive cyclone dumped 40 to 60
He's explained the James Webb Space Telescope.
Causing catastrophic flooding.
He's not streaming it, so that probably means he's going to be a guest here as well.
Was undergoing cryogenic testing at
I wonder.
Johnson Space Center.
No, it doesn't say anything about guests, so Meh.
People had to cover workstations in plastic tarps. Food was in short supply, and a few team members trapped by floodwaters had to be rescued by boat. It was rough, to say the least.
Oh no.
The team and the telescope survived the storm. Despite winds and snow and endless rain, the team got it done. And Webb is now ready for its final journey atop a rocket into space.
Ariane 5. In French Guiana.
While the Webb telescope is a
Because there's a part of France in South America.
With questions. Questions about how the first stars and galaxies came to be. Questions about whether planets around other stars might have environments that can sustain life. And of course, the promise of discoveries we can't even predict yet.
What, we're off to the election? Yeah, just said that. Ariane 5, which you can see right behind my stupid face. Yeah, right there. This one right here, Ariane 5, which has two great big solid rocket motors, I believe it's a liquid hydrogen engine. Don't quote me on that.
Let's start with something that's deceptively simple.
Yeah. Disappeared it again. Oh, there you are. 1 hour away. 1 hour. 1 hour. 1 hour. 1 hour.
And what makes that special is that gravity, although it's very weak, is
I'm being too excited. I need to like keep myself down because like other people are sleeping as well. Liquid hydrogen seems appropriate, yeah. So this will be like yeah, I'm gonna have to keep it down a bit. But then definitely liquid hydrogen for the upside. What is Canadian time? Currently it is 5:30 in the morning. So it a bit
kinetic energy, just heat.
Yeah, it's very early at the moment.
Something other forces could do all by themselves. Clouds of gas can be compressed by the gravity until they get big enough and hot enough to light up and have the nuclear reactions inside that turn hydrogen and helium into the...
Hey, Star. Hey, Ari. You wanna...
You're on the set. So...
You wanna what?
Everything we have,
wake
think of as ordinary, came from inside stars. So we are...
Yes, I do, but like...
Stardust in the Big Bang. So we need this part of the story.
It is 5:30 in the morning. I woke up at 4:30. Immediately had a shower. I am still tired.
So you mentioned these planets around other stars. So we're almost sort of going through all these amazing science.
Yeah, I'm thirsty.
What can Webb tell us about planets around other stars?
Well, once in a while, a planet goes in front of the star. And some of the starlight...
Okay, 5 push-ups then.
The planet, if it has an atmosphere, on its way to the telescope, we will...
Maybe that'll wake me up.
...into a spectrum, or what you would call a rainbow, and we will analyze it to see whether the chemicals that are in that atmosphere.
Like on my bed.
So we will be able to tell you that maybe, that's the plan, whether those little planets that might be like Earth actually
it's for science.
Water in their atmosphere, and maybe enough water so there could be a liquid ocean under that atmosphere. One of the great questions. So we know they're planets. We know when we should look.
2.
We just don't know what we're going to see.
3.
So after the Webb launches, one of my dreams is to be standing outside in my backyard and point to a star and say there's a planet around that star that we know has water vapor, oxygen, perhaps methane, carbon dioxide. So what is Webb going to also do in the search for life close?
Really hope I didn't hurt my foot there.
In our own solar system, we will be looking at everything from Mars on outwards to the farthest we can see.
Just clipping the back of it on the bed frame.
Some of them are really interesting and special because we know they're
ooh, yeah, that's
forms of life.
it hasn't not bleeding, but
that's a good clue. So
1 or 2 layers.
Which orbits around Jupiter was discovered by Galileo himself, and we know now that it has an ocean that's covered with ice.
Potentially gripping yourself for chat's entertainment.
We at NASA are going to send a probe over there to fly through those plumes. We're also going to point over there with the Webb telescope to see what can see about that atmosphere and those plumes of water. We'll be looking at Titan, which is a satellite of Saturn, which is so big that it has an atmosphere enough to fly a helicopter. And it is cold out there, so that what they have, what is on the surface, is solid ice, and over that are liquid hydrocarbons, which you would use for fuel here in our home. But over there, it's...
Speaking of Europa, I recommend the game
we will be looking at the geology of
Borrow Trauma.
Send the helicopter out there.
So you're
I
on
mean,
this
like-
amazing journey from the very distant early universe all the way to our own solar system. But this has also been a personal journey for you. You've been working on Webb
Borrowed
systems.
trauma?
Is that correct?
I have since '95. We had our first conversation, but people were even dreaming and imagining way before that what we needed. And you could tell.
Monotron is a
before the
2D
what
co-op
were the
submarine
possibilities.
simulator
We
in
would
space
use an infrared telescope that could do
with survival horror elements. Steal your, give orders, fight monsters, fight leaks.
So thank you so much
Huh.
for joining us. Best of luck on the launch and the mission ahead.
Thank you for asking all these great questions.
Maybe.
The Hubble Space
Hey, you can like customize people and
our
stuff.
place in the cosmos.
I mean, like, if we got a couple of people together, it might be really good.
Just scratch the surface. Hubble gave us the best
Anyway.
views of stars and planets forming inside vast.
It's because one of my favorite games has become one of my favorite games recently.
Questions that needed better measurements, clearer images. Hubble was also
In that
able to capture
case,
images from galaxies
it's
so
like-
far away. Their light took 13 billion years to travel to us. These distant galaxies are just tiny dots in Hubble's images,
I'm gonna, like,
tantalizing scientists with clues about how the first galaxy
Properly add it to the wish list,
in order
and
to receive a
then
better understanding
probably
of the
get
early
it.
days of the universe, we needed to build a better time machine, and that's Webb. So I'm going to be rejoined here by Nicole and Macarena, and this is our chance to talk a bit
Hey,
about
Macarena.
that better time machine. You know, what about the technology of
I'm
Webb?
sorry, I'm very
So
tired.
there's so many
Ignore me
aspects
if I
of
say
Webb
something
to start
stupid.
off with, but maybe again going back to the theme of infrared.
Wait.
The design of this telescope.
Why is the model in the background not
how
gold?
to use infrared light, heat light. So tell us about some of the.
It's supposed to be like gold like that.
For example, why does it have
But
to
they
be
got
so
it, like,
cool?
black and
Tell us
stuff.
about infrared light in the design.
Right. Well, I think
Models are incorrect.
Cool, it has to be. You know, it's around or below 50 Kelvin, and that's minus 370 degrees Fahrenheit. Actually, below that is what it operates at, and that's.
Oh yeah, because they have like, you can't like properly see it 'cause the model's like off camera.
Telescope itself to
But like basically they're only going to be viewing, this area, and then all these panels, basically they're specifically designed to bounce the infrared light or infrared heat away from the telescope.
Planet atmosphere, or faint light from the earliest stars and galaxies. So you just don't want to detect your own telescope.
Now, Macarena, you are the instrument and calibration scientist for the coolest instrument.
It is the coolest
on
instrument.
Webb.
Yeah, they like very, very, very fucking cold.
A really unique instrument.
I was curious about the plates. Yeah, they basically act like a reverse or like a radiator, just like on your computer's CPU, where like you have the heat at the bottom, and then the heat primarily will conduct through the poles because like conduction is really, really good, but they try and limit that as much as possible. And then the plates will like get hot, release infrared heat in the form of radiation. Some of that will bounce off, but because it's very, very reflective to infrared, it will bounce up and down, up and down, up and down, and eventually out these sides. But some of that will get reabsorbed, hence the reason why they have multiple of those like plates, like shielding the shield separating the telescope part and the electronics. Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to atmospheres, because Earth has an atmosphere, and there's water in Earth's atmosphere as one example. I mean, there's a lot of other molecules, but basically,
like CO2 and carbon monoxide.
Observe some of these stars and planets and galaxies. Those wavelengths are actually
And probably fish
where
poop
Earth's
as well.
atmosphere is opaque. So with telescopes located on Earth, even at higher mountains where they try to get above the clouds or atmosphere sometimes, there's still residual atmosphere that we're trying to look through and peer through. So in order to see the full infrared wavelength range at a very high sensitivity as well, we need to go to space.
Absolutely. So we talked a bit about some of the power
Yeah, 'cause,
of
like,
techniques like spectroscopy. We've heard
again,
John Mather talk about it. So
thing
let's
that,
go a little
like,
bit more
you
into
turn
the
to-
details of how spectroscopy works and why
When are
it's
we
so
building a
powerful.
telescope on Mount
Oh,
Everest?
sure, yeah, I can keep going. You know,
When the Nepali government
the
approves
rainbow
it,
again is kind of it's a rainbow.
and when we make it a bit less
naturally. But if you use something
terrifying
you
to
can separate out that
travel
light
up there.
and see all the colors from blue to red. But then the infrared is redder than the human eyes can see.
Redder than
But
red.
You can still do the same technique where you have spectroscopy tools or instruments like Webb has, all these spectroscopic tools, so that we can break up the infrared light and look at certain colors, if you will, so that we can see certain features that we are looking for, whether it's the right wavelength where a galaxy might be bright or where water is absorbing in an atmosphere.
So, Macarena, MIRI has many different capabilities.
It does.
And in fact, it has one that I believe it's something different called coronography as well.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about all these ways that we're going to detect different signatures from planets. Tell us
So
about MIRI.
coronography, it's an amazing technique, but essentially it simulates an eclipse. So when we have a very bright star with planets around, for instance, usually when you take an image, the stars outshines the light of the planet, so you don't see them. But with MIRI and with other instrument NIRCam as well, you can actually block the light of the star and dim it, and then you see the planets around. And it's really a technique that's going to be very much used, like in this image, direct imaging of planets.
Basically, you can just put your thumb up against the sun so you can see other things in the night sky, in the day sky.
Initial inspiration to a design, then schematics, and finally reality. What started as a big dream for studying the origins of the universe required best-in-class engineering expertise to transform into something real. Let's take a short look at the very long story about the earliest days of the James Webb Space Telescope.
Oh yeah, this takes me back.
Before the Hubble Space Telescope,
I'm surprised SpaceX isn't hosting NASA. Well, SpaceX is more like interested in like going to Mars and making really, really good rockets, whereas this is just straight up science based.
Construction of the James Webb Space Telescope began in 2004. Beryllium was mined to create the mirror segments, which technicians polished and coated.
Yeah, back in 2004 they started making this thing.
Engineers designed and built new science instruments in the US, Europe, and Canada. Every step of the way, there were reviews and tests to make sure each part could withstand the rigors of spaceflight. By the early 2010s, the team began bringing individual components together at
Yeah, but it's still pretty iconic. It is. Like, it just makes it all that more into
the grand machine we see today.
We've said before that the James Webb Space Telescope is an incredibly ambitious mission. Big ambitions come with big challenges, and that's certainly been the story of Webb. From the beginning, the design of this observatory has been a balance.
And also, since I have gotten the text, hello, Dad. I know you don't have an account, so I don't know if you can chat or not, but hello.
What a telescope could be. Another example of a delicate balance between desire versus capability.
Yeah, I got my dad's in the chat watching, although I don't think they can actually probably watch. Hi, Star Dad. Hi, Starbit. But no, don't be like that.
I'm here with Keith Parrish, a senior engineer. And Keith, you brought something to show us today.
Yeah, yes, I did. So conceptually, Webb Sunshield is actually quite simple. All we need is 5 tennis court size pieces of this material outstretched to protect the telescope from the sun. So what I have here is an actual sample of that material. This is just Kapton.
It's so light. Yeah.
Started technically just a particle cloud.
You know, it's commonly used, and
I guess so. Like nebulas and stuff, they like collapse together to create a star. So like a star deb would just be
what we call the thermal properties we need in orbit. So
wait,
the
no.
sun has a nice pink or purplish kind of hue to it, and
think of it, a star mom would be the nebula that collapses together to make the star. Star dad would be the supernova that compresses the nebula to make the star.
We don't want any surface charge
So,
building up. And the other thing is this silicon
star dad is supernova.
Temperature of this layer. So, and also it's very durable and can survive, you know, for many, many years.
Final answer.
And then this whole thing has to unfold somehow. Where we can actually see that behind us.
Exactly right. So if you look at that animation there, unfolding there, so it's actually S-folded up, almost like a fan. We call it S-folding. And once we get it all folded up, we secure it to a structure by actually pinning it for launch. So, you know, huge shout out to our mechanical engineer and our entire Sunshield team, because they've come up with some really clever ways to secure this for launch, unfold it, fold it, and then, you know, ultimately get it safely deployed in orbit.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about it like this. You're basically trying to make an origami, like, paper mache or something. Put it in a box, get in a string, and whip it all around you, and make it so you can still unfold it. And also make it so that, you know, the thing doesn't break.
The membrane release devices. And we use this type of actuator because it produces a very low shock when it's released. And the animation shows conceptually how it works. We send an electrical signal through either one of our connectors. We use both, but either one of them can cause the release to happen. It melts a small wire inside, and then we have a spring that unwinds and allows two halves of a split nut to separate, and then our pin
split
get
nut.
extracted. And so in the case of the MRDs, it's a spring-loaded pin that pulls to release the folded membranes. In other places,
Releasing nut.
bolting two pieces of structure together and then releasing them so we can deploy them.
And the Sunshield itself has 107 of these?
107 MRDs that all have to work.
Every single one has to work.
Every single one has to work. And 178 of this type of device in various configurations around the entire observatory.
Right. Well, if we go over here, we've got something sort of lovely.
178 split nuts contained in the James Webb Space Telescope.
Right. Full-scale, single segment, one of the 18 mirror segments on James Webb. The real ones would be machined out of a single piece of beryllium to the exact curvature we need. And then once we're deployed on orbit, each segment can be individually focused to make it act as a single perfect mirror.
Now that coating, tell us about this gold coating here.
Yeah, so this is you know, coated with a very thin layer of gold. It's only a few hundred atoms thick of gold, and that gold is really good because it gives us a reflective property in the infrared, and that's really what Webb is an infrared telescope, and we need that Sunshield exists to cool this entire telescope. So this mirror actually runs about minus 400 degrees Fahrenheit on orbit. If it were warmer than that, the infrared energy coming off of this, that energy would swamp our detector system instruments. So that entire Sunshield exists. All 18
Imperial scum. We only use metric here.
Helps with all that reflectivity.
Kelvin, because Kelvin is cool.
Well, that's wonderful. So you put it all together, and we have a smaller mock-up here. The Sunshield, the mirror. Tell us what we're looking at here.
Much smaller. So
must be gold.
Deployed on orbit. And you can see the Sunshield here is a large feature. You can see all 5 layers.
Not gold.
And it's the separation of those 5 layers.
I find it odd that NASA streams on Twitch. NASA streams on Twitch.
Eventually gets to this cold layer. Again, that entire telescope is running minus 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and the way we get it.
I must observe this now.
Is shaded. The telescope is looking to the deep universe, which is near absolute zero. And then again, this layer here, we've got about a 500 degree temperature drop. So this telescope is also looking at this layer here, which is nice and cold. So that's what lets us.
You aren't watching it? No, I'm watching through YouTube.
Really, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck on the launch.
Fully deployed and stretching this out, and then ultimately all.
Oh yeah, that's more recent. So fuck that.
Okay, let's get a live launch status update from.
Oh, and we get.
Rob Navy's
this is so much better now.
How are things in Kourou?
You get fucking this, so you can like read it.
Michelle, and Merry Christmas from the Jupiter Control Center here
Merry.
in French Guiana.
Like imagine, no, don't even jinx it. Just can't tell you.
Ready to send the James Webb Space Telescope on the initial phase of its journey. The fueling of the Ariane 5's first and upper stages began before sunrise.
I'm also definitely not going to be looking at the chat, because if somebody posts something nice on the chat and they see it on my chat, I get in trouble for it.
They are go to proceed into the final
So,
phase of
not a good idea.
Launch controllers have been monitoring weather conditions throughout the night, keeping tabs on clouds.
Although then again, I think like
both at ground level and in the
it is just follower only chat.
5, ensuring that all of
Wait, how many people are? Oh yeah, 16,000 people are watching.
Right now, we have a green board As the countdown
Imagine getting even
continues,
1,000th of that.
again being tracked by the
Fucking make my day.
here in Kourou. By the way, our broadcast today
It
is a
blew.
collaborative effort between NASA and the European Space Agency. So that's it from now from the Ariane 5 mission control.
40 minutes to go.
Back with you soon. For now, let's go back to the Goddard Space Flight Center and Michelle Fowler.
Thank you very much, Rob. So Webb asks big science questions. It
Like,
demonstrates astounding
big
technology.
science.
It
Like, what
inspires
is
and excites
inside
people to
your
dream and
anus?
wonder. And the spark of inspiration is the ignition of creativity. Kids all over
I
the
might
world
get
are
a
national
monster at the
candidates
store,
for Webb
BRB.
pursuits.
Okay, see you in a bit.
Now we have a collection of young artists ready to showcase their work.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelly Girardi, and this is Delta V, and we're kicking off the
Wait,
Unfold the Universe
did you
Challenge.
literally
NASA and
call your
JWST
kid Delta V?
NASA is hosting an Unfolds the Universe Art Challenge. Use your imagination to share what you believe the Webb telescope will find.
It's gonna find a lot of gas in space.
The Webb telescope will see galaxies, stars, planets, the moon, and don't forget our star, the sun.
Cute little kid.
Up in the sky, really high,
Hi, Greta.
space.
Space.
Thanks, Greta. Good job.
This is my picture of space.
Yay!
Hello, my name is Gabriel. I am from Romania. This is how I imagine space. Hello everyone, good morning. This is a drawing of distant galaxy that can be seen by James Webb Space Telescope. Hi, my name is Anastasia, and this is what I think the telescope will look like. What the telescope will see. I drew the Earth, the Sun, the new planet, the black hole, and stars.
Aww.
So we've been fielding social media questions from viewers all over the world this morning, and let's take a couple of minutes to share some responses. There's been a couple questions about how long will it take for images to come out, and there's a lot of things that need to happen.
Oh yeah,
before the
like
images are
it
ready.
takes
So,
like
Macarena, why don't you take us
bare minimum like a month for it to even get out to the location.
Images to share with the public, that'll take 6 months. The reason is because it is, so we launched today, it takes a month to take to the orbit place, to the Lagrange 2 point, and then we have a whole period of cooling down the instruments, aligning the mirrors, and making sure that all the instruments are ready to do science. So the whole process takes 6 months, half a year.
And also all of those 18 segments of mirrors, something needs to happen to get them all working together too, right?
Exactly, because initially you launch with 18 segments and they work separately. So you will take, if you observe one star, you will get 18 little points. So there has to be a process where you take images with NIRCam, which is one of the cameras on board, start moving the mirrors slightly to make them work as a single one, and then by the end of this iterative process, you go from 18 points to a very sharp, pristine single point source. So all mirrors act as a single one.
So let's see, we have a question from LV coming in on Twitter. Will Webb be able to enhance detection of comets, asteroids, or meteors that enter our solar system? So that seems we've got a planetary person here.
Sure. Yeah, well, Webb does have a special observing mode where it's able to track these rapidly moving objects, because compared to these distant stars and galaxies, asteroids and comets, they move pretty quickly. And so Webb will be able to do this so that we can study material that's outgassing from them and learn more about what they're made of.
So let's see, there's just so many good questions, so we only have time for a few more. So one is from Kristen Rodriguez on Facebook. How long will it take James Webb to reach Lagrange point 2? And you might also just explain what is Lagrange point 2?
So it takes a month. I think it's actually 29 days to get there. And
That's
the Lagrange
exactly
point
it.
is this very interesting stable point. So the gravitational pull between the sun and the Earth create this point where it is stable, and you can.
Yeah, it's like they say, like the back end.
Around the L2 point in a very stable orbit only needs a little bit of corrections once in a while.
It's somewhat stable. Technically, it's unstable, but it is
protecting the telescope from the radiation of the sun.
Like
in a year, in a full year, you
yeah,
can
it's
observe
somewhat stable.
and it's a continuous observation.
They do need like fuel to correct and whatever. But
big mission with a
is it
cast
good?
of thousands to bring it to life all over the world. As we get closer to launch, let's take a brief look at the main locations where Webb took shape on its journey to space.
Inside the massive high bay clean room at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, engineers assembled the 18 gold-covered mirror segments into the backplane of the telescope and integrated the 4 science instruments contributed by international partners. To simulate the harsh environment of launch, they went through vibration tests and acoustic tests. And to simulate a space environment, the instruments endured cryogenic testing in a large thermal vacuum chamber.
Whoa.
But it wasn't large enough to hold both the instruments and the mirrors, so the telescope boarded a plane to Houston, Texas, to visit the only thermal vacuum chamber in the world big enough to fit the entire assembly. Chamber A at the Johnson Space Center was originally built to test the Apollo spacecraft, and half a century later, it provided a grueling 100-day test for the Webb telescope. Next, the telescope traveled to Northrop Grumman's facilities in Redondo Beach, California to meet up with its other half, the Sunshield and spacecraft bus. Fully assembled at last, the entire observatory went through yet more tests. Many focused on making sure the spacecraft could properly fold up for launch and unfold in space.
I'm not like talking or anything. It's just like
September 2021,
I'm really happy.
On a ride on a specialized cargo ship and set out on a 16-day voyage to the European Space Agency's spaceport in Kourou, French Guiana. According to its travel itinerary, that's Webb's last port of call on Earth.
Yo.
Once Webb gets into space, we're going to have some exciting things to tell you about what happens next, from its extraordinary engineering to the thrilling scientific adventure it's about to enable us to undertake. But launch comes first. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie Haswell, our host at the launch site, and one of NASA's most recognizable voices, launch commentator Rob Navis. It's all yours, Katie.
33 minutes left.
Thanks very much indeed, Michelle. Well, it's all looking very good here at the spaceport for a Christmas Day launch. Operations running smoothly, the countdown ticking over nicely. All the systems are green and we are go for launch. You can see there we're looking at launch pad number 3, the James Webb Space Telescope, inside the very top of the rocket in first class with its seatbelt on. Waiting patiently for liftoff. That's scheduled.
It ran out of monsters like the entirety soon.
I'm in the
It's
mission
unfair. This is unacceptable. There are no monsters left.
10 kilometers from that pad, and
We drank them all.
you can see it's a laser focus in the control center with the mission control centers all on console there as we get closer to launch. We call this the fishbowl behind this protected glass. And up in their skybox here in Mission Control are NASA's Rob Navius and the European Space Agency's Luce Fabregat, and they're standing by to take over the commentary about 15 minutes as we get closer to launch.
These homies only have one screen set. Oh, look at these plebs with their one screen setup. You gotta like, and then you got like slightly more Chad with my dual setup, and then you got like extra Chad with 1, 2, 3 setup, and you got Giga Chads with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They do have 60 gigabytes per second network.
Yes, so in the 30 coming minutes,
Yeah.
the final operations, 10 minutes.
Can you imagine the amount of like games I could stream and what quality I can stream if I did like that level of of internet?
We launched for
I like-
UST this morning from the Guyana Space Center.
No, that's the
You know what
wrong.
Webb is about. after Webb, we will never see
Bruce?
the guys in quite the same way.
It's an important project, isn't it, for everybody?
It's a very special mission.
Ah, okay, I clipped it a little bit.
Already
Oh,
111 times with
like the entirety of... Yeah, forgot how this works. Like the entirety of a GTA downloaded in 1 second.
Thank you very much for having taken time to step out of the fishbowl for us, so you can head back now.
At that point, you'd just be limited by like the upload speed of the frickin' the server network at Steam, I guess.
The authority that takes all the final decisions in the event of
Which I guess they probably would just like limit it to like maybe 10 gigabits per second upload. What are you watching, Star? We are watching launch coverage of the James Webb Space Telescope, a telescope that has been being developed, that has been developed and built for the past 25 years.
Joining us, Raphael, tell us a little bit more about French Guiana.
Well, French Guiana is a French territory that borders Brazil. It's located in the Amazon rainforest. 97% of the land is covered in trees, so that's why it's so green and beautiful.
That's an old ass as me. That's as old ass as me. Yeah, it's old ass as me.
Incredible. This is actually one of the best preserved habitats in the world.
And of course,
And well, we're going to launch a rocket in it.
and yet it is actually the European spaceport. So what makes this location in South America so important and so relevant?
Well, there are several reasons for this. First, we are on the coast. It means that we can launch over the sea from north to east without having to fly over inhabited area. So this is very convenient to reach any kind of orbit.
You know, because fuck all those, like,
hurricane here,
fishes.
big tropical storm, there is no earthquake. But more importantly, we are very close to the equator, so that we can benefit from what we call the slingshot effect given by the rotation of the Earth. So let me take this globe. Here on the equator,
to an extent. You get, like, I think, a dozen meters per second by launching at the equator. I need to make Farnsworth milliscope seeing planets, smelling planets is the trend. I mean, like, to an extent, you totally could with even, like, any of these telescopes, because they, like, detect the atmosphere, so you could recreate it. Real chats launch from the poles.
And that really is important, 1 million miles, isn't it? And so there's a real proper...
Futurama is the future.
And the facilities here are ultra high-tech, and that's exactly what Webb needs, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very convenient for Webb. It's also located in a nature reserve. So this is the perfect meeting between nature and technology, and people come from all over the world to work here. But one thing that's been very important for Webb is cleanliness.
I want my
because you know that
bending BFF.
dust could alter the vision
Yes.
of the observatory.
Wait, if there's Bender, does that mean there's also Shear and
environment in
is
all
it
our facilities from
Ripper?
in French Guiana
No,
to
Tensioner.
inside the rockets.
There's bending forces, there's shear forces, tension forces.
I really don't think you need me
It's like there's
to tell you
tensioner
it is the product of a
and
feat
shearer.
of human ingenuity. And you don't get to make a telescope as complex as the James Webb telescope and as remarkable
Where's my drunk
without
robot
tremendous
compressioner?
amount of collaboration. And the James Webb Space Telescope is indeed the product of a partnership between three
Okay,
space
so that'd be
agencies
like-
that came together to
It'd be
create,
compression.
NASA,
A
the
compressioner.
European Space Agency, and
Rather
also
it be
the
Bender.
Canadian Space
Compression.
Agency. So here to talk about that
Are we
now
sailing
is Greg Robinson
on New
from
Year's,
NASA.
Star?
Greg, thank you very much for coming.
We will
to the
most
floor.
certainly be sailing on the new year.
And we're talking serious teamwork here, aren't we?
Yes, Katie.
So we got compression,
benefited
we
from
got
an amazing
depression.
partnership with the Canadian Space Agency.
Yeah,
European Space
yeah.
Agency.
Hopefully we'll get Poe in there too. I will be sure to mess them today about how
and 14 countries
we doing
across
that.
the globe, and not to mention the amazing industrial base across the globe that will benefit. In order to do,
I'm on vacation till the
it takes
28th.
lots of resources,
Okay.
lots of expertise, so we maximize everyone's expertise.
I hope you hype for 2038 after this
onto an Ariane 5
blows and we wait another 17 years. Oh yeah. After that, we can discuss. Yep. Yeah, because I think like I don't even think it'll last that long. This, I think the maximum lifetime this thing is supposed to have is only like till like 2031. At that point, like the fuel that keeps it stable, that runs out here. My internet here is trash. Yeah. Stinky internet.
Time knowing that your telescope is sitting there on top of the rocket, getting closer to launch.
It's certainly amazing. Often talk about the butterflies, and people keep asking me, have they started? Have they started? And yes, they're starting. And when we get to about 20 minutes out,
it's starting.
Start flying a lot. So
well,
the excitement is just amazing.
The excitement is building, and of course, everyone very cool, calm, and
I can play, but not online. Yeah.
You can take your position back in the fishbowl now, because I know you've got a lot of work to do in there.
Well,
Greg Robinson, thank you very much indeed.
Glad you can still entertain yourself on that.
So
Oh, by the way, free games on Epic. Yes. I have looked. I have observed every single day.
And Raphael, she has got an
Nothing like nothing super spectacular so far, but still like neato games. And like, it's free. Might as well just grab it.
The very first Ariane, the Ariane 1, took off exactly 42 years ago. Yesterday, this was Christmas Eve, 1979.
I want to play Remnant of the Edge.
And hopefully we're going to get a good Christmas present today as well. And I mean, the rocket is
subconscious stretching.
A rocket like this without collaboration either, do you?
Of course, just like Webb actually.
It'll like be a fucking backlog of so many games. So like I have Friday usually as my day that I stream various free games I've gotten or just random things. I'd really love to play Borrow with you lot. Yee! That another rap party. A rap party!
On each side of the rocket, they
I will.
the main thrust in order
Yeah.
to literally push the rocket against the gravity of the Earth. Then you have
We have these. They literally
main
push
cryogenic
the
stage
rocket.
with the main engine Vulcan.
Rat buddy! Rat buddy! Sweden!
Inside the fairing.
It is right there on the launch pad, and together they are put on top of the third stage, a cryogenic stage, and it is this upper stage that is going to place Webb in
Was
the
it
orbit.
this upper stage? I thought it was like, yeah, because there's the ullage motors that like push the rocket. There's where the engine is. That's the cryogenic stage. Yeah, so there's like, I forget what the name of this engine is. I think it's like HE3 maybe?
Once it's done, there is no turning
No, that's an
back.
older
The
engine.
rocket is going to lift
I wanted to
off.
go on a Swedish rocket school.
Don't be surprised.
My GPU is too low.
If you don't see the rocket,
Then I could literally say, I know a rocket scientist. How could you do this to me, Spungu? You had one job to make my life better.
Before it actually lifts off. Now, one of the advantages of the Ariane 5 vehicle is that it can be modified, and that's exactly what we've done for today's launch. We've had to make some changes for it to be able to host the Webb satellite. And joining me to talk about that is someone who, the right person for the job indeed, because he was in charge of those changes, Daniel de Chambre from the European Space Agency. Thanks for joining us, Daniel. What
We have a really cool launch plate up the Earth. Ooh. Lurkies? Okay, you have good Lurkies extinction.
Occupies the volume of the fairing with gaps as small as 10 centimeters for a diameter of 5 meters. It is the reason why we had to develop a specific integration procedure to ensure that there is no contact with them. After separation, during separation, the venting system of the launcher has been improved in order to balance as much as possible the inside and the outside pressure of the fairing. And this is due to the fear of a depressurization shock, which could damage the delicate layers of Webb Summer Sun shield. After separation, due to the fact that Webb, equipment of Webb are very sensitive to sun exposure. The roll control of the launcher will be tuned in order to make sure that Webb is always oriented only one face to the sun. And in addition, to avoid any spot, the launcher will create some oscillating movements, like a barbecue mode, to avoid any overheating. And after Webb separation, there will be a specific end-of-life maneuver to be applied on the upper stage in order to put it on a liberation orbit around the sun in order to avoid collision in the long term.
Thank you very much indeed, Daniel. So we'll hopefully see the upper stage rocking in space. Not quite all the way around like the familiar barbecue, but a slightly different move. Listen, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for being with us today. I know that you're busy. You've got jobs to do inside the fishbowl, so I'm going to send you right back there now, and very best wishes for the launch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our telescope has a long journey ahead of it.
Send a pic of our launch plate in Discord. Okay, I'm
its working zone, where it's going to start telling us all about our universe. It's already started that journey because it's
can I just like
to the launch pad from Los Angeles after final tests were concluded.
How do I like? What's the best way of viewing this here?
Into a special container. And
this thing.
transported along the LA 405 freeway, which had to be closed because it's so big.
Yo, nice little sounding rocket.
It traveled on a special ship.
Fucking cool.
A lot of spacecraft will come to the French Guiana launch site by plane.
Hey.
But Webb was too big for that, so it had to travel by ship, and it went through.
Really fucking cool. Like super cool. Okay, but back into this thing.
Up through the locks.
It's in the middle of fucking nowhere.
And it took 16 days to get to the port in.
Well, I mean, you'd imagine so. It's like
unloaded.
Rockets make a lot of sound, and like you don't want to like have your rocket go and like irritate the locals.
Outside the Jupiter Control Center, actually.
And I would have been in those rooms. Ooh.
It was unpacked very carefully.
Watching them launch
Raphael was talking about.
into almost space,
started, and of course,
but GPA shape.
Teams had to wear special suits. A dangerous job, and then it was placed all the way on top of the Ariane 5 rocket.
That's a lot of flags. It's a web.
It was encapsulated inside the fairing.
Ooh, that's satisfying to watch it like just slide in there.
Rolled out to the launch pad 2 days ago. From the vehicle assembly building to the pad, along very special
Inspirational music.
very through the Amazon rainforest. It was raining at the time, and that was 2 days ago, and here we are now, 17 minutes and 46 seconds to launch and counting. All systems are go here at the European Spaceport in French Guiana. We have 3 control centers on the job today.
Fucking love construction tower.
Control center here. We also have the launch control center, which
pad
is
time lapse.
And then
It's like it's so satisfying to like
mission control,
see like this big long rocket and it like almost being the equivalent of just a big building surrounding it.
Operations
Specifically designed.
from the mothership. That will be about 27 minutes after launch.
Man, I imagine it's getting cancelled because of the weather.
Telescope for the rest of its life. Very important job.
That would fucking suck. Well, gotta wait another 20 years for it. Yeah, but no.
James Webb
Good thing is that they are going to be launching it this year.
Observatory.
I heavily doubt they're going to delay it for more than a week.
over 2 decades.
Let's
Some
go.
people have been working
Let's go.
on it
Let's
for their
go. Let's
whole
go.
professional lives. Thomas Zurbuchen is the head of science at NASA, and he's joining me now just to talk about it. Thomas, or Dr. Z, as we can also call you.
Dr. Z.
The day has come. All these decades, all this time, all these people
Expensive
working on
fireworks.
the
Let's
telescope, and here we
go.
are,
Yo.
16 minutes and counting to launch. It's a big day, huh?
Oh, I'm so amazed, right? We have this telescope on top of this rocket.
And you know for a fact there's going to be like a ton of people like putting various Dr. Z's nuts is your nose.
Those individuals and also tens of thousands of scientists,
Z's nuts.
that will benefit from these data are there with them waiting for these last minutes of countdown for its journey to space.
I'm guessing people are feeling a combination of emotional excitement. What's going through people's minds, do you think?
I'm tired. That's what's going through my mind.
Whenever you're on top of a rocket, many things went really, really well. There's tremendous pride. There's always a little bit of anxiety. We know launching is hard. We have one of the absolute best teams in the world working on this right now, so I'm confident in that. We're super excited. I mean, it's just an amazing day today.
And what are you most excited about, Dr. Z?
Well, I'm a scientist, so for me, besides the technology that really is a marvel, I mean, it's really the best we can do. What I'm thinking about is really looking at the universe in new light. We have never seen the universe how Webb will show it to us. And can you just imagine going back in time, 13.5 billion years? It boggles your mind, even as a professional astrophysicist. Kind of just think about all the new things we're going to learn about our most beautiful universe.
Dr. Z, thank you very, very much for joining us. And I want to wish you and all the
Dr.
team,
Z's
everybody,
nuts. Thank you very
best
much.
For today's launch. Thank you.
Go Webb.
So, yes, indeed, go Webb. So we are now 14 minutes and 30 seconds to launch.
I just noticed the fucking pin. I want that pin now.
And I'm going to hand you over
How do I get that pin?
to NASA's Rob Navier.
It's such a cool pin.
Alongside the European Space Agency's Luce Fabriquet, who are going to take on.
Oh yeah, the pin is amazing.
Over to you guys, Rob.
Look at my pin. My pin is amazing.
Worldwide audience from our broadcast booth.
What was that from anyway?
Control Center here in Kourou. Joining me today for
Kind of want a 3D printed model of the James Webb. Yeah, I kind of want a 3D butt of the butthole of the James Webb. Butt spot. You're drunk. Stop it. I don't know. I was gonna attempt if I got up really, really early or something like that I would pass the time by making a 3D model of James Webb or drawing James Webb. But I guess I didn't get to do that because I started at exactly the right time.
Parameters are green. We have a green board here in the control center, and everything has gone extremely smoothly in the countdown. About 9 minutes ago, a major milestone passed as the James Webb Space Telescope began the process and completed the process.
Dr. Z's nuts model.
Transition from external power to internal battery
yes. The perfect VTuber model of Z's nuts.
Webb will remain on internal battery power until its singular solar array unfurls
Power
about
to
30 minutes after launch. Earlier, telescope controllers reported good environmental readings from
provide
sensors
science.
inside the fairing, encapsulating the telescope atop the upper stage of the Ariane 5 rocket. And Luce, as we enter the most critical phase of the countdown, can you outline some of the upcoming critical activities as we head into the phase called synchronized sequence?
Yes, Rob. We are now reaching the end of this 11-hour sequence that we call the chronology, and that started yesterday evening. All systems here have been prepared for final launch operations. And at the time being, it's rather quiet now inside the launch table and also inside the launcher. We were told a few minutes ago by the Launch Control Center here that the launcher fluids and electric systems are ready for the final automated sequence. They are on hold now, waiting for the last weather report at -10 minutes. After this weather report, 3 minutes later, we will have the beginning of this famous synchronized sequence when all systems will be made ready for the liftoff.
Okay, so we're gonna get our weather report soon.
This will first be run by the ground calculator, and then the onboard computer will take the lead step by step, and the launch vehicle will be made autonomous from the ground system. You know that we have 2 tanks in each cryogenic stage.
Because they are both cryogenic.
All 4 tanks are, of course, thermally insulated from the hot environment we have here in French Guiana.
So
however, these liquid propellants are at very low temperature, and because of that, slightly evaporate.
So, like, you find an asteroid or a comet on a collision course with Earth. What they're gonna do? It's still gonna hit. We just know about it. I mean, assuming it's small enough, you can just move everybody out of the way. If it's small or if it's big, then yeah, we're gonna like, we're gonna do the equivalent of like, just push it over.
For the launch also, and it will be uploaded with the H0, with the H0 time.
But the enterprise, if it's small, it burns in the atmosphere, kinda. Kinda, but if it's big enough, then it becomes a burst, and it basically explodes in the atmosphere and like acts like like an air nuclear bomb.
All systems to remain green. We'll be going down to the fishbowl to confirm that just a moment or two.
And if it's bigger, it hits and it becomes just a proper nuclear bomb. And if it gets really, really big, it's like a continent-sized nuclear bomb.
Observatory is separated from the upper stage of the Ariane 5 rocket,
Busting a nut in the atmosphere.
The commands will be given to unfurl its solar array, followed by the confirmation from the telescope controllers in Baltimore that we are power positive, meaning that electrical current is flowing through that solar array.
Injecting its material into the Earth.
Seated with mission controllers on the floor of the control room is Raphael Chevrier of Arianespace. Raphael, how's everything looking? What's being discussed down there?
Yeah, that noise when you're making your buzzing. No.
It's all green for
I'm silent in the nut.
Forecast right now.
Intercontinental busting missile.
Wind in the vicinity of the launch pad and risk of lightning. So right now, it's a relief because the weather was tough in the last couple of days. But right now, everybody is very focused on the next steps. The start of the synchronized sequence at 7 minutes before liftoff. Last operations that Luz described.
Silence, regret on nutting.
Webb and the Ariane 5 are going to lift off and soar into the sky.
Oh, I feel bad about it.
Thanks, Raphael.
The post-nut clarity do be hitting hard.
We have confirmation from Baltimore that James Webb is on internal power.
How did we get on like post-nut clarity from like James Webb here?
3 years ago, the astronauts of Apollo 8 completed their 10th and final orbit of the moon after reading from the book of Genesis on Christmas Eve to billions of people watching with rapt attention back on our planet. The astronauts then headed for home following their spacecraft's trans-Earth injection burn. Today, more than a half-century later, we're just minutes away from another Genesis, the genesis of new era of discovery. The launch of the James Webb Space Telescope is at hand. We're just 38 seconds away from entering the critical synchronized sequence. You're going to be hearing,
4 minutes.
all the critical
4 minutes.
the DDO, the
Another genocide? Wait, what?
Who is Jean-Luc Voyer.
I think you've misheard there.
In the Mission Control Center, there he is. He will be calling the start of
Another
synchronized
genocide.
sequence, all of the critical countdown milestones, and we will be listening very intently for his calls. Let's stand by.
À tous de DDO. Attention pour la séquence finale lanceur. Top. À 0 moins 7 minutes.
Didn't miss your. Just
And
woke.
with that, we've entered the period of synchronized sequence. You heard Luce Fabriquet just a moment or two ago explain some of the critical activities. The first one coming up just a few seconds
I
from
mean,
now.
like, if it's a Genesis, that kind of defines that, like, you've killed off everything that came before.
Was loaded earlier this morning with 175 tons of propellant, 150 tons of liquid oxygen, and 25 tons of liquid hydrogen. The upper stage loaded with 15 tons of propellant that will be the workhorse for a 16-minute burn to lift James Webb to its final orbit. At separation, some 27 minutes and 7 seconds after launch, James Webb will
The French are finally retaliating the non-French guilds.
To put that into perspective,
they're launching their intercontinental Boston missile into space,
International Space Station.
so they can,
At that point, we'll be traveling about
you know,
21,000 miles
peek
an
on all
hour
the stars.
as it heads out to a highly elliptical, halo-like racetrack orbit, some 1 million miles from Earth, to begin its scientific observations.
5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes.
More than 1 minute from now, we will see the 4 tanks pressurized at their flight level for the last tests before the ignition of the Vulcan engine.
They can finally bust a nut at their enemies from the orbit.
Flight configuration, the onboard computer,
You know, they say it, you know, nuke them from orbit. No, it's
internal power
not in orbit.
before the launch, 1 minute and 5 seconds before the launch. And we are going to see
The orbital, an orbital nut at the
minus
British.
6 seconds. We will see the disconnection of
Yes.
the upper stage, this big cryogenic.
Oh yeah, and I guess like the British no longer part of me in the European Union. I guess like they don't have much sway in like the East anymore.
All the information about
The French are a romantic bunch, eh? VV, bust the nuts over your stinky country.
Will start. 7 seconds, a little less than 7 seconds, where the engine will start up to its flight regime.
4.5 minutes, 4.5 minutes, 4.5
The engine is running normally, and you will see at that point a flame going straight
I can like
outlet of the nozzle. And at that point,
4.5 minutes, 4.5 minutes, 4.5 minutes.
ignites the 2 boosters that will enable to move the 770 tons.
Very happy star. 420.
Coming up on the T-4
Funny number.
right now. Just a couple of milestones real quick. At the
They say the British Isles,
into the flight, Ariane 5 will go through the period of maximum
they'll turn the British
pressure.
Isles from a country into a country.
Will be the period
They'll
of
turn the British buttholes into from a butt tree into a country.
provide about 90% of the
That actually nearly works, butt spot.
shut down and separate at the 2-minute 21-second
3.5 minutes. 3.5 minutes. 3.5.
After that, by fairing jettison,
Boss.
exposed the James Webb Space Telescope to the environment of flight for the first time. The main stage separation, or the first stage separation, comes at the at the 8-minute 47-second mark into the flight, and that will be about a 16-minute burn of that upper stage engine. It will cut off
The rocket street Boston.
seconds into the flight, and then we'll go into a coast phase of about 2.5 minutes to allow any oscillations to dampen out, provide the most pristine environment for the James Webb Telescope before observatory separation. We're coming up on the 2-minute 50-second mark.
2 minute 50 seconds.
Again, you're going to be hearing critical calls down.
Can I send a link here? Am I gonna get you? You can send a link. Oh shit! Good morning, sir. Yes, you're perfectly fine with sending links in here.
Green board, no issues being worked.
I will.
NASA officials, including Greg Robinson on the right, carefully watching the telemetry, looking intently.
What is
Find
here?
A couple of minutes of the
Yeah.
countdown
Hello,
lives
Scrapper.
spent in the preparation
You arrived at the perfect
of the
time.
James Webb Space Telescope that is about to fly.
Ray Parker Jr. Here we go, it's Ghostbusters.
Of the screen
Yes.
from Iron Space.
You streaming early, huh, Star? Yeah, we streaming the launch of the James Webb Space Telescope.
Jean-Luc Voyer, as we have hit the 2-minute
2 minutes to launch. I was awake very fucking early. 4:30 in the morning is when I woke up.
The flight will be in 2 phases. You will see the first part of the flight during the solid rocket boosters phase. That
Wow,
is the atmospheric part of the flight, the atmospheric flight, and the trajectory will be driven by a to reduce the aerodynamic loads.
All right, everybody, clear out. Clear out here.
Exo-atmospheric flight after that.
And you were watching a number of people, VIPs and invited guests moving
1
out to
minute.
the observation platform.
1 minute, 20
that is
seconds.
right next
Here.
to the Jupiter Control Center. As we stand by for the 1 minute call from Jean-Luc.
Happy hops.
À tous les vidéos, attention pour moins 1 minute. Top, à 0 moins 1 minute.
1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Systems are go. We're inside a minute now. T-minus 50 seconds and counting. As you heard earlier,
Happy rest of
Vulcan 2 engine will ignite.
69
Turbo
seconds.
pumps will come up to
Let's
flight speed for
go.
7 seconds, and the command will be issued to ignite the solid rocket boosters. The James Webb Space Telescope will be on its way.
30 seconds. Is
T-minus
that
30
the
seconds
baby?
and counting.
It might be the baby. I pull up.
Standing by
20
for
seconds. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we have engine start.
Hey! Yeah!
Decollage, liftoff from a tropical rainforest to the edge of time itself.
Hey! Lost the spinning around.
The universe.
Explode now! No.
Through the clouds, 20 seconds.
No explode.
Good pitch program reported.
We got launch, we got launch. Hell yeah!
Trajectoire nominale.
Vehicle performance is nominal.
I wish we had like more like telemetry here.
The Ariane 5 rocket can
Come on, we still gotta get Challenger disaster. Why are you going fast? Gotta go fast. Gotta go faster. Gotta go faster, 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 faster. Hey, there we go, telemetry.
We can hear the noise and feel the vibrations here. You're right, Rob. Yeah, impressive.
Altitude. Hey, it's all in metric, so I can understand it. Shit, I'm freezing. How cold is it?
0.6 kilometers per second.
How cold is it there?
Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
I like how the camera guy is just kind of like guessing where the fuck it is, but it's just clouds.
The range operations manager.
Yeah.
You can see at the bottom of your screen, the yellow line is the trajectory plot, perfectly overlaid over the green line, which was the pre-launch trajectory.
Yes, yes, the very, very obvious trajectory here. No, my stream is freezing. No.
Shutdown of the solid rocket boosters.
Okay.
Coming up on the 2-minute mark into the flight.
So we're currently moving at almost 2 kilometers per second now.
Less acceleration for
Tous les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
Main solid rocket boosters are about to...
everything is normal.
I'm lagging behind. Fuck.
15 seconds into the flight.
When the computer detects this threshold.
Why does the trajectory look like a square root? Because it is.
We have
Better
of solid rocket booster separation.
Better stream freezing here. Minus 2 degrees here. Ugh. I mean, that is chilly. It is. I will not argue that it is not cold. Let me look up real quick. What is the proper temperature all the way up here? It was minus 10 yesterday. Damn.
Being exposed to high temperatures and also high.
I don't know what the temp is here. It's like space temperature.
The atmosphere, as is now the case, the satellite does not need anymore to be protected. Web does not need anymore to be protected. So each kilogram being
It's fucking cold here.
the performance of the launch we are going to eject.
We got minus 20 up here. So it's chilly.
And let's go down to the floor in the Jupiter Control Center
with minus 25 wind chill.
Raphael, so far so good.
Hi Rob, so far so good. Everything is nominal, as we say, when attitude and trajectory of the Ariane 5 is going perfectly well. As you can see also on the yellow line on the screen, we had the confirmation
fairing separation.
Separation of the two solid boosters.
No, where I live, I don't know what the temp in Michigan is.
The atmosphere. So everything is going super good.
I don't know, like, where you currently are.
Parameters are going perfectly smoothly. So let's continue the mission.
And Raphael, this
is some nice KSP gameplay. Yeah, they got like some real cool mods installed for like extra realism. Nice some gameplay. Bearing separation. Extend the solar panels. Bongo tap. Bongo tap. Bongo tap.
Point, the L2 point, about 1 million miles away from Earth.
There it is. There's James.
Trajectory is nominal.
Compish Country Star. I have no idea where that is, but I trust it's cold out there.
The liftoff time confirmed here in the Mission Control Center at 12:20 Greenwich Mean Time, 9:20 a.m. Peru time, 7:20 a.m. Eastern time. The Ariane 5 and James Webb, 181 kilometers in altitude, 450 kilometers downrange from the launch site here in Kourou.
3 kilometers per second in velocity. Let me see what the indoor temp says.
5 minutes, 12 seconds into the flight.
65.
3.5 minutes to go.
Hey, gotta bump that up by like 4 degrees there, bud.
And again, you can see at the bottom of your screen the yellow.
I don't know, what is 65? I don't want to look away, but at the same time, 65. Damn, pull me boiling. Yeah.
So far for the Ariane 5 rocket.
Like, raw. You're like over halfway to boiling there. Oh, fuck the guy who forgot to hit quick save of the launch pad. Forgot to quick save at the launch pad. No, I got a better butt spot. Fuck the guy who forgot to hit butt save at butt pad.
Libreville and Malindi, one on the east coast, the other one on the west coast. And the one on the west coast, Malindi, you can see that the telescope will be separated more or less over this Malindi station. And this Malindi station will also acquire telemetry data from the
Okay.
you can see both are green, Galio and data on this animation. It means they are
I now have like quickly.
Right now by the launch operations manager.
There we go, patting the star.
And just confirming
Star knows that the house I'm living in is 100 years old. Hey, it's over St. Helena's now. It is right there. It's not very far off.
All of the telescope's telemetry and its imagery ultimately will be processed through the Deep Space Network in Goldstone,
The
California.
80% head pat speed run.
Mark into the flight. A perfect ride so far on the
80% head butt speed run.
about 1.5 minutes.
Oh wait, yeah, it don't go very fast. No, you're fine.
Engine is cut off. It will be
The things aren't particularly lined up that well.
After that, the upper stage engine will ignite, and it will be the workhorse for a 16-minute burn that will put James Webb into its preliminary orbit.
Look closer at the. I look closer at the model. Butt spot, you asshead.
About 11 minutes from now, telescope controllers at the Space Telescope Science Institute
And it's going over Ascension and not St. Helena.
for the initial series of commissioning activities that will lead to the deployment of its solar array. And,
oh no, they're gonna commission
generation of electrical power for the
James Webb.
About 30 seconds away from main engine cutoff.
"30 seconds away from main engine cutoff." Okay. Nice.
Trajectory continues to be the watchword for the day.
Fuck off, TikTok ad. No!
Jean-Luc Voyer.
Twitch, how could you do this?
Shutdown and separation.
Actually, that's a good point. I'm glad I'm not getting like ads from Twitch here right now. Just watch it, ad pops up. Holy fuck.
Extinction de l'EPC.
Oh, then I think like they could probably like negotiate with Twitch, like, hey, don't play ads on this. Just straight up, do not play ads on our channel.
Mission control center and the ignition of that
Upper stage separation and
so far so good.
Yes, Rob, we
ignition.
have the permission of the separation of the main stage and the ignition of the upper stage.
I left and I rejoined, so I hope I'm no longer lagging behind.
Moment for us because it's always a challenge.
The model is pretty good. It is a pretty good model. Like
at 220 kilometers of altitude.
I mean, like,
is a bit more than 7
yeah,
kilometers per second.
it is a really fucking good model.
Enter now the second stage of the second phase of the flight.
Not terribly like realistic lighting, but it do look like a very detailed model.
Orbit, and right now everything is again nominal, as the DDO just said.
I don't imagine like a lot of the smaller details. That's got to be like just textured on and barely normal mapped.
We'll get underway. Again, like rocking a baby in a cradle. This will be
that the fin and everything there, the shield. That's guaranteed going to be normal map. It's got to be a lot of normal maps, yeah. And you guarantee they're going to use like a 16K texture for this stuff. Can't have any pixelation. Oh, for sure. Just watch them use like a 10K or a 5K or watch them just using like a 250 pixel texture.
And the way the rays of the sun would propagate and interact with sensitive equipment inside the telescope. Maintain this thermal conditioning is really key before separating.
Oh yeah,
this telescope.
foil map
In
is
particular,
crisp.
one face of the telescope cannot face
And the funny thing is that they can like. Remember trying to render the Doomslayer in the Discord? That one, yeah. That was pain. Model is kind of low poly though. To an extent. Some of the parts are just straight up like low, like the metal plate below the foil. This bit, I can't see any like super low. I'm no longer lagging behind. Nice. Welcome to the present, Scrapper.
Coming up on the 12-minute mark into the flight, the telescope controllers will be taking the
turn around. Okay.
From the mission controllers here in Kourou.
Eh.
The first steps will be the opening of fuel valves, a pair of fuel valves, to start flowing fuel to Webb's onboard thrusters. They then will power on the valve drive electronics. Those are powered on in preparation to control and fire
like,
those thrusters when required.
What was actually like one poly.
Is scheduled to be deployed at approximately the 33-minute mark into the flight. Once it is locked in place, we'll get the call that electricity is flowing through the array. That call will come from the mission operations manager, Carl Starr, who is at the Space Telescope Science Institute at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. Seated right behind him in that control room is Alicia Starr, a pair of stars helping to guide
Oh yeah, now we're like
on its discovery of the stars.
getting way out there now, halfway across the Atlantic. I showed my screen to my grandma and she says, "Wow, yeah, wow."
Then 3 out of the 4 hold downs for the aft deployed radiator will be released to prevent binding due to the cool down of the telescope's composite structure. The contamination control heaters will be enabled to protect instrument optics on Webb from any water ice condensation as they cool down. The actuator drive unit will be powered on. This particular mechanism helps with heater control.
Wait, how far is it going to orbit? It's going to like go all the way to orbit, and then it's going to go all the way.
Used to position each of the mirror's segments.
What?
All 6 reaction wheels and the wheel drive electronics will be powered on.
In a ladybug.
That will be the precursor to the attitude control system using those reaction wheels to maintain the proper orientation with the sun, as opposed to using.
You're not in a KSP stream. Add me the game, but I will.
Very valuable. It's a limited commodity for the lifetime of James Webb's observation.
It's not a game. It's not a KSP stream yet, though.
We're 13
I probably will like try, but this is KSP. Yeah, but it's not a KSP stream. I'm watching somebody else play.
To report a nominal performance for James Webb. And again, loose fabric.
Could have sworn I might have already like.
How is this trajectory?
Did I not already add you?
Carefully and methodically adjusted to provide the correct parameters.
Merry Christmas, everyone! Merry Christmas.
As you can see on this plot, the altitude is slightly going down. It's perfectly normal.
KSP eastwards looking hella cool. Yeah.
On the line where it should be. This decrease of its altitude,
yeah, I'll like.
Decrease of its altitude will allow.
Haven't used Star Juice to add me. Ooh, okay. I will be sure to add.
Until it reaches a thermal threshold, it's about to reach it, or even already reached it now, and it will go up. And now it will go up and up to the separation of the Webb telescope.
Up to the separation.
The Webb's telescope on a highly elliptic orbit, but still around the Earth. The telescope will be released, inserted on an orbit around the Earth, with an apogee, a very high apogee.
Timeout butt spot. Alright. Go timeout butt spot.
Trajectory nominal as reported by Jean-Luc Voyer. You see.
Okay, double timeout butt spot.
185 kilometers an hour.
So that's 1,200. Yeah, 1,200 seconds.
Moving at more than 8 kilometers per second. Right on the plot, right on the trajectory.
Timeout.
Everything looking great.
Butt spot 1,200.
9 minutes away from the completion of upper stage ignition. It's shut down, and then about a 2.5-minute coast phase before Webb.
So 20 minutes. Yep.
Observatory separation will be called out. You'll be hearing those calls and the initial calls from
which is 60 times 10 times 2.
The Space Telescope Science Institute at Johns Hopkins through solar array deploy and the declaration of a power-positive spacecraft. James Webb, of course, will be traveling well beyond
that'll be like
to a distance of about 1 million miles away from Earth.
I should rename. I'm gonna like use your like comment there, Spungu, to call my like channel points space or Star Juice.
At the time of observatory separation, Webb will be at an altitude of approximately 864 miles, statute miles, traveling some 21,000 miles an hour.
Oh, the juice, Star Juice, taste the sun.
We're about 8 minutes away.
All right, thanks.
Shut down. The stage has performed as planned. No issues reported. The launch occurring at 12:20 Greenwich Mean Time, 9:20 Kourou time, 7:20 a.m. Eastern Time on this Christmas Day.
Hey, they're like nearly out to like Africa now. Hey, look, if you go like really far south, you might be able to see it.
It will be slightly below, okay, I give it in kilometers per second, but it will be slightly below 10 kilometers per second, because it's important that the satellite, the telescope, is not
now they're above Ascension.
It will be placed on a terrestrial orbit so that there will be time for the layout, for the early phase operations and the commissioning of the telescope. And that will be, in fact, the upper stage that will leave this orbit and goes toward an escape liberation orbit.
And of course, even though we're still in powered flight, the trajectory,
I woke the fuck up at 5 in the morning.
which James Webb is going toward
That is also still very early.
all modeled in advance, and carefully choreographed to maintain as quiescent an atmosphere and
my heart goes out to you, Scrapper.
for its
That is
ultimate
still stupid
separation
tired.
from the upper stage of the Ariane 5
But that is still stupid early.
about 6.5 minutes from now.
Or hydrate, because all this, like, being awake is tiring.
Into the flight. It's very quiet now here in the control center here in Kourou.
Not as early as 4 in the morning. 4:30 in the morning.
Officials, European Space Agency officials, Ariane sponsors,
And yes, I'm very tired as a result.
watching telemetry very carefully.
Look at all these people, far more intelligent than me, knowing what the
And
hell they're talking about.
Continues to burn nominally and sheds fuel. The acceleration uphill for the James Webb Space Telescope continues to increase as we approach the 20-minute mark into the flight. Again, upper stage cutoff is scheduled at the 24-minute, 51-second mark into the flight, about 5.5 minutes from now.
After the cutoff of this main engine, as you said, Rob, we will have a short ballistic phase, a short coasting phase that will, when the upper stage will rely fully on its what we call the attitude and roll control system, and it will.
They have enough fuel that looks pretty small.
So that during this,
Oh, they have plenty of fuel.
phase, all the requirements
I'm not a rocket science. Bitch, the fuck you are.
and that at the separation, when there will be the separation, the
I'm
conditions will
like-
be very smooth and as requested for the.
I'm definitely not a rocket scientist. I like rockets, and I pretend to be a rocket scientist on the internet.
Today's countdown,
But I am not a rocket
as well as,
scientist.
you can imagine, the weather was perfect all the way through the early morning hours, through the fueling process of the vehicle. The weather's been a bit dicey here in Kourou over the past few days, but everything fell together on this Christmas
Mark
day,
Robert used to work for
send,
NASA.
a
The
new
fuck you
present to the
mean?
world's astronomer.
Rocket scientist less than rocket enthusiast. I ain't no rocket scientist, but I really like it.
Parameters nominal as reported by Jean-Luc Voyer, the range operations manager.
But yeah, don't press the blow up rocket button. That would be a bad
4
thing.
minutes of powered flight remaining.
4 more minutes of powered flight. Nice. Oh, we are now officially over top of Africa. Oh, you mean this button? No, Erie, don't press the button. That would it blow the... That would bust our load too early.
The telemetry of the launch vehicle is acquired for the time being by the Libreville tracking station on the
Boston.
western coast of Africa.
Boston.
Flight control is nominal. The trajectory is fully normal, fully as expected, as you can see on the plot with the yellow plot over the green one. That is the expected one.
Nice, nice.
22 minutes into the flight. Less than 3 minutes of powered flight remaining.
Smooth flight control.
So, when you were gone yesterday, we apparently were talking about shitting ourselves.
And again, as we
What?
mentioned before,
What was going on in my chat?
Everything nominal, reported by the range operations manager. As we've mentioned before,
I mean, like,
this is a long ride uphill.
at least it's nothing like horrible, but like,
Telescope to put it at the
what?
position in the sky so that it can escape from the Earth, basically head beyond the moon towards its final orbit for its commissioning activities that will be the dominant feature of all of the operations from the Space Telescope Science Institute over the course of the next several weeks.
The launch operations manager announced the acquisition by the Malindi station, as expected, for the end of the flight and the last part of the upper stage flight and the separation of the telescope.
James Webb is about 4 minutes away from separating from the upper stage, and again at that point.
Looking at that guy with his glasses, like, pinching into the side of his head, I feel that.
Earlier in the broadcast,
that hurts.
To be followed carefully by the telescope controllers at the
Damn.
operations.
So that's the reason why I need to stay things so I don't get, like, fat, like, pinching into my glasses all the time.
1 minute of powered flight remaining.
1 more minute of power flight.
The upper stage continues to function perfectly. It's been a smooth ride for the James Webb Space Telescope.
Trajectoire nominale.
Halfway over Africa. Hey, you can see the Victoria Lake. That's this great big thing down the bottom.
The stage was loaded pre-flight this morning with 15 tons of propellant for this long 16-minute burn. Now about 30 seconds away from upper stage cutoff.
Yes, 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 yes. And
we're standing by for upper stage shutdown and the cutoff of the upper stage engine.
Yes. Star, that's a simulation, not the actual. Fuck you. Yeah, well, they just said so, so like.
Les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
The extinction of the shut-off of the cut-off of the engine was confirmed exactly as expected, with the exactly expected altitude and speed and velocity. So now we have entered the coasting phase, the ballistic phase, that will last for a little more than 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Like, nice lake though, bro.
And the telescope controllers in Baltimore confirming that all of the
They do look nice. It is a nice simulation.
For the James Webb Space Telescope have been loaded on board the telescope. We are
Show me more real pictures. I don't care if it's just space. I want to see.
27-minute, 7-second mark here into the flight. Just over a minute from now, Springs will gently push Webb away from the upper stage of the Ariane 5. As it moves further and further away from
I'm probably going to take a nap right after this, to be honest.
We refer to as a collision avoidance maneuver.
Yes, Rob, exactly. The springs already will give some distancing, of course, between the two objects, between the telescope and
Star, when are we climbing on an animation like this? The moment I have time to, like, do something like that.
The telescope
And the moment we have the No!
liberation orbit and leaves the telescope.
The moment we have, like, time to, like,
orbit,
land something out.
any risk of collision,
I don't know.
without any risk of pollution towards the telescope.
Maybe we'll have, like, Earth Chan or something like that.
From Webb separation.
Yes, get it. Do we have actual separation?
Séparation Webb Space Telescope.
Yay! Hey! What is the Gmod model? Wait. What's the Gmod model?
Taking its first steps in pursuit of cosmological discovery.
Like Gary's mod model?
It was a perfect ride to orbit.
Gary's mod model. So that's a realistic model.
The separation sequence events are running
Separation
in fashion according
ring
to
with low poly is F. Well, that's because it literally is just that low poly looking.
There is the view from the upper stage camera on the Ariane 5 looking at the James Webb Space Telescope as it moves gently away from its launch vehicle.
Hey, look at it! Ayo!
Go Webb, go Webb.
Yes.
Go Webb.
Ironically enough, as we marvel on this view from the upper stage camera, this will be humanity's last view of the James Webb Space Telescope as it moves to its workplace about 1 million miles away from Earth.
Yes, you're right, Rob. Impressive, fantastic pictures. Yeah.
Now we'll be hearing shortly from the mission operations manager at the Space Telescope Science Institute, Carl Starr, who will be calling out
Carl Starr
that will lead to the deployment of Webb's solar array.
Hey! The solar array.
Down in the fishbowl where there is jubilation, let's go to Raphael Chevrier of Ariane Spas.
No, that's like actually how bright things are in space.
Before we do that, Raphael,
Really, really fucking bright.
a bit earlier than planned, but there is the solar array having been deployed. James Webb now has its array out as we stand by for confirmation that it is power positive.
Hey, Rob.
It's a glow.
J'entends pas ce qu'il me dit. Pardon. Il m'a appelé ou pas? Il m'a appelé ou pas, Rob?
Non, il t'a pas appelé.
And there it is. There's your critical call. James Webb not only has legs, but it has power. As
Hey!
its journey and the commissioning activities to follow. And with that, let's go down to the floor in the fishbowl and Raphael Chevrier of Ariane Spas.
The rendering space things required a lot of post-processing. Yeah, it
Safely delivered Webb in
absolutely.
The upper stage is now being placed on a safe escape orbit around the sun,
But it's not quite. It's a lot of post-processing, but it's not a lot of like proper rendering. Like you don't need to render like atmospheric effects like you would for Earth-based renders. There's a lot of color correction that you need to do in order to make it look good, though.
Really, there is no words to describe the immersion that is happening right now in the fishbowl. So, all I can say is good luck, Webb, and bring us incredible data from the deep universe.
Go, Webb, go. Go, Webb, go.
Well, Raphael, congratulations on a perfect ride to orbit from the Ariane 5 out of Kourou.
Yeah, absolutely. Blow out the camera with light. Well, it's not just like blow out the camera with light. Blow out, like, the color space is just wrong. Because, like, the color space you're normally used to is based primarily on, like, Earth-based and, like, how the air even scatters light really, really shortly. But in space, there's nothing to block the light, so you get fully saturated colors. Very, very saturated.
On both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. Thanks a lot to you.
Tremendous jubilation here in the control center. You're looking at Jean-Luc Voyer, the range operations manager. Quite a Christmas present for the world's astronomers as the James Webb Space Telescope begins its life heading towards deep space. With that, we're going to go back to the floor now to Katie Haswell. Katie, we did our thing. It's up to you now.
Oh my goodness, I just can't tell you. It's such utter jubilation here on the floor in the Jupiter Control Center.
Hey, Christmas hats.
Whooping with joy. The controllers here and the mission
Actually,
controllers
it is
jumping up,
Christmas,
clapping, whooping with joy.
so
People,
I should put on my Christmas
I have to
hat.
say, my throat was caught as I saw the glimpse of sunshine on Webb solar panels as we watched it heading out into space.
I hit back instead of different tab.
It's
No!
going to take about 6 months before we start getting our deep space observations from Webb. Of course, the teams have got a huge amount to do before we get.
There we go. Christmas party.
Best wishes with all those teams in
GGEC clap.
Right now, everybody is talking and hugging each other because
GG,
they're feeling
first
so
try.
excited, and I totally understand that. Let's start
Deostrong,
by
GG,
going
GG.
over to the NASA
Clap.
administrator, Bill Nelson.
Zero death, GG. Yeah, can we get GG spam in the chat? GG. Perfect 80% speedrun. GG spam. GG. GG. Easy club. GG. GG. Too easy.
Administrator Bill Nelson, right now looking at these jubilant scenes here in the Mission Control Center in Kourou.
Lamau, get wrecked, uninstall the game, you noob. GG easy.
The mission controllers have done a fantastic job. It was an utterly flawless launch.
Alright.
From the European spaceport here on the equator in the Amazon rainforest. Hoping to go over now to NASA Administrator Bill Nelson to get some reaction from him.
I don't know, this will just be a lot of interviews and stuff, so like...
All stations, 7.5 minutes, give or take, until the sequence continues.
I guess at this point I just end.
ADIR release part 1.
It's like... Oh my god, 38,000 viewers, damn. Yeah. I guess that's it. I can, how the fuck do you go home to celebrate Christmas after you've just launched a rocket with one of the most iconic payloads of all time? I don't know, just like... Yeah. You just... I don't know how. How about this? We, like, end this off with the bussin'. I hope I don't get, like, DMCA'd for this, but,
Ray Parker Jr. Here we go with Ghostbusters.
oh yeah, no, this is definitely gonna get me DMCA'd. Oh. Yeah. Boston makes me feel good. Boston does make me feel good. So yeah, I guess we can just raid out then. Yeah, you can see the fucking... It was 38k, now it's 35k. Imagine, like, raid NASA. Oh no, I guarantee they have, like, raids turned off. No freaking way. But I'm curious, though. I don't know, what happens if you try to raid somebody who has raids turned off? I don't know. Shit ahead isn't even following NASA. Fine. Following NASA then. That's it. There we go. Imagine if you could donate to NASA and they would put your Twitch name on a rocket. That would be fucking awesome. You need to be a follower. I am a follower. Yeah. Yeah, so fuck it. Let's raid out. We will no, not BRB. Just chatting, that's it. So I'm gonna raid out to who do I want to raid out to? Like today we launched in the Axiom Serena space, and it's backed by Star Scuffle, Spunkoot, and the Eerie. That'd be fucking awesome. I think, you know what? I've never actually gotten to like raid her or like and stuff. I know she's like ridiculously big, but fuck it. Or not ridiculously big, but big enough. Because, yeah, never gotten to. So, Raidy. Stellar Raid. We're gonna raid out Akari Hashizawa. Playing the Warframes. So yeah, thank you to everybody who showed up today. Thank you to all the North American... Oh shit, Akari? Yeah, Akari! Yeah! Yeah. Thank you to everybody who showed up, especially to the people who are from, like, the Americas and stuff. Wait. Damn. I should, like... Oh, once we get... You know what? That's now a tier 1 sub. Wait. Good night. Good night, bud. No, it's still, like, early and stuff. I'll probably just, like... Okay, so if you're subbed, there's the new raid message. Anko, not points for emote. No! Oh, this is so sad. Well, anyway, yeah, please go rest. I will go rest. Okay, bye-bye, everybody. Love you all.